How do you take a single local business and turn it into a national brand with 50 locations in under a year? It's not magic, it's a system. Our guest today is the architect behind that system for hundreds of companies. You're tuning in to the Adapt AI podcast spotlight series, where we feature the change makers and disruptors shaping the future and growth of the business. I'm your host, Haley. Joining us is the expert of the franchise industry who has helped launch over 140 companies, brands in just the last 4 years. President of the Franchise Genesis, Rick Robinson. Rick, welcome to the show. Can you kindly start by giving us a snapshot of your journey and, how did you get into the franchise game and what Franchise Genesis really do?
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me, Haley. So, yes, I've been in franchising a long time, for 41 years. I tell people I go back to when the internet was invented, but no one was using it yet. So, things have changed quite a bit since that time. Now, there's so many different ways to learn about franchise opportunities that they didn't have back then.
Mm.
So, yes, I've been a franchisor 5 different times, a master franchise owning several territories, a franchise consultant, and I was also very lucky. I was elected and served on the board of directors of the International Franchise Association, which is based in Washington, D.C. The International Franchise Association, or the IFA, is kind of the protector of franchising. They're on Capitol Hill, meeting with politicians, making sure they understand the importance and economic impact that franchising has on our economy. And if they see any legislation that they think might be harmful to franchising or just small business in general, they lobby against that. I've been on Capitol Hill 4 times myself, meeting with politicians and helping them understand what a huge business franchising is. It's way bigger than people realize. Most people think of it just being food and beverage.
Right.
Out of the 140 brands that we have franchised in the last 4 years, less than 30% were food and beverage.
That's something that we'll ask you about, but thank you for, giving us a snapshot of your journey. I During our last conversation, you mentioned that franchising is, essentially expanding using other people's money.
Mhm.
Can you explain to our listeners why this is a smarter path for a founder than taking on, let's say, a venture capital or a massive bank loan?
Yes. Well, typically we'll get a business owner that has already started to expand and they've opened 2 or 3 locations and they are so consumed with just HR issues on a daily basis, turnover, customer issues, things of that nature, that it makes it very difficult for them to continue expanding even if they had the money. What
Mm.
franchising allows them to do is use other people's money to expand with. But now, instead of employees, you have vested owner operators running these locations. And they, of course, do a much better job taking care of them more profitably and efficiently than employees would do. So they're
Mhm.
using other people's money. Now they have owner operators running these locations for them. Plus, now you can grow very quickly, as fast as people step up that are financially qualified and you think would make a good franchise business partner, you can sell and open up another franchise location. So you can grow very quickly with franchising. Also, much less support. These are owner operators. So it's more coaching and mentoring on an executive level now, and you're not
Mhm.
getting bogged down in the day-to-day issues that the franchisee is doing because they are the business owner handling that. Another issue is liability. Well, now you're not exposed to what might happen at these locations, where if they were employees, you would have exposure. The
Mhm.
franchisee has their own liability insurance, and they take care of any issues that might possibly happen with their business location.
Speaking of liability, how does it impact, branding of a certain franchise? If, let's say, one location didn't do well, or there might be some um, unforeseen circumstance that would affect the overall brand. How do you deal with that, or how do you mitigate those kinds of
Yeah, that's a
risks?
very good question. So, franchising is highly regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. And to become a franchisor, there are legal documents that get created. It's called a franchise disclosure document. We call it an FDD for short. And
Mhm.
what that does, it provides to someone looking at your franchise, a prospect, a candidate, full disclosure about everything. So, the background of the company, who the executives are, what exactly is the franchise business model, what would the estimated startup cost be if I wanted to open one,
Mhm.
an example of the franchise agreement that I'm going to sign to review. And there's also franchisees listed in the back that they can reach out to for validation. But getting
Mhm.
back to your question, the franchise agreement is
Mhm.
written totally in the favor of the franchisor and the brand to protect the brand, giving the franchisor total control over how the franchisee runs it. I tell people if you
Mhm.
read a franchise agreement, you'll like, oh my goodness, who would sign this? But once the franchisee understands how it protects them as well from that
Mhm.
one potential franchisee not running the business properly, like you mentioned, they
Mhm.
see the benefit in it. So the franchise agreement and then the operations manual, which goes into the details of the daily operations of the franchise, combined give the franchisor total control and brand protection over every aspect of what happens at the franchisee level. And if the
Mhm.
franchisee is not running things properly and in compliance, after some warnings, you're allowed to get them out of the system so that they aren't possibly harming the brand and the franchisees' businesses.
That's actually good to know, that there are certain levels to protect the franchisor mainly, but also the franchisee should, in any event, another franchisee of the same brand not do
Mhm.
well or impact the entire, business branding. That's very good to know.
It's one of the first questions that comes out. They're worried that they're going to lose control of the brand if they start selling franchises because they're used to, excuse me, having employees that they know they can hire and fire if need be, and they're worried about that. But I tell you, when you read a franchise agreement and how an operations manual is written, there's more control over how a franchisee runs the business than an employee would.
Is that also something that you help, these franchisees as well, also the franchisors, get them a better understanding on what this franchise agreement would look like and assist them or support them in with any questions when it comes to like transitioning from, one location to another?
Absolutely. Yeah, we do an analysis of their business with them.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, we make suggestions to change what the franchise model might be. Sometimes the franchisor's business is offering many more services or products that maybe the franchisee doesn't need to offer. So we
Mhm.
refine that and come up with the business in a box. And that
Mhm.
way, it's much easier to duplicate and help the franchisees be successful. So we give them an analysis of their business. We come up with decisions on what the business franchise model will be. Then we step into pricing. What are we going to charge for a franchise fee? What are
Mhm.
the royalties going to be that are going to be paid back to the franchisor?
Mhm.
But we're there holding their hand through every aspect of turning their business into a franchise, getting it launched, and then helping them find good, qualified people to buy their franchise.
In line with that question, Rick, a massive statistics that you shared before is that 75% of your clients only have one corporate location when they start. What are the specific traits of a single location business for anyone that might be listening to this and considering, that may make it ready to franchise, even if they aren't a big chain yet?
Yes. Yes. Probably 75% of our clients do just have one corporate location when they come to us to franchise.
Mhm.
Is it better if they have a couple of locations or more opened up? Sure, it is, but they don't have to. When
Mhm.
people ask me, how do you know if I'm franchisable, Rick? I say, well, I'm going to ask you three questions. One, is your current business model profitable? Yes. Two, can you teach someone else how to run this type of a business? Yes. And are there plenty of customers across the country that your franchisees could sell these products or services to? Yes. Well, then you're probably franchisable. Let's do a deeper dive and make sure that this is something that you want to take on. So it's really it. Do they have proven systems in place? Is it duplicatable? Can they teach
Mhm.
someone else how to run it this way? And that's really what it is. It's making it a very simple process and procedures that allow the franchisee, if they follow them properly, they will be successful.
Going back to that, what if they only mark the main two out of the three? Let's say the system is duplicatable, it's profitable, but they may not be good at teaching other people how to do it. How do you
Mhm.
solve that, or do you not take them at all?
Well, usually that can be handled by hiring someone who is, right? We start to describe to them the different positions that they're going to need to have within the company to be a successful franchisor. On one end, it's in the beginning. Who's going to be responsible for tracking leads, talking with people, qualifying them, getting
Mhm.
rid of the ones that aren't a good candidate for you to expand with, and then narrowing those people down and then awarding a franchise? Because it's awarding a franchise, not really selling a franchise, because you are deciding whether that person is worthy of owning your franchise, right?
So
You're
the
not just selling
vetting
it.
process, yeah.
Correct. So then in terms of the training, usually they have someone in operations that's qualified for at least the how to do it part. Sometimes on the sales part, on teaching the franchisee how to sell the products or services, that's someone different within the company. It could be the founder of the company, or there's someone else that they already have on staff. But usually they do have the people on staff to handle the training in the beginning, but they may need to
Mhm.
add to that staff as they start to expand with franchisees.
Okay, so that's a solvable kind of situation.
Yes.
What is not would be like if it's not profitable or a duplicatable system at all. Hiring
That's
someone to
correct.
teach is not a main problem. Now, you
Right.
mentioned earlier that, everyone thinks franchising means food, beverage, burgers, and fries. But
Mhm.
you said that, it makes up less than 30% of your business. What other industries have you helped in, expanding and scaling from one location to multiple? And what is the most surprising industry that you've seen explode via franchising recently?
Yeah, some of the industries that have had tremendous growth in franchising are senior care and every type of home care. So seniors or disability, people with disabilities of some type, but in-home care of people for whatever that might be. Then we get into the health and wellness space. That has exploded, health and wellness. And that could be anything from boutique fitness, all of the diet centers that are out there. Almost every industry in health and wellness, every business model is franchising in health and wellness. Then you can get into all of the home services, HVAC, landscape maintenance, restoration, carpet cleaning, house painting, you name it, anything that you have done at your home, there are multiple franchise models out there to service that industry. Then we get into commercial businesses, all the services that they hire for. There's so many different things that if almost every business that comes to me is franchisable. Once in a while, they're not, and that's usually because their customer base is so niche that it doesn't make sense. There are not enough customers across the country, or the
Mhm.
people who would be franchisees are so narrow, it'd be very difficult to sell franchises. But most of the time, no matter what industry you're coming from, there's usually a way to franchise it.
That's amazing. Now, you take a business from local shop to national franchise brand in, let's say, am I right in remembering this in just about 4 to 5 months? What does that sprint look like, and what is the hardest part of the process for that?
Yes. Now that varies greatly depending on the franchisor,
Mhm,
because resources is one of those things, because you can grow quickly in franchising. So they need
mhm,
to make sure they have the support team in place to handle the sales, the training, and then the consultation support of the franchisees once they have their doors open and running.
mhm.
Then we get into money. That costs money to be able to do that. Marketing to find those franchise candidates. And we'll get a lot of clients that say, Rick, I don't want to be a national company. If I had 10 to 15 franchisees just in this region, I'd be happy. And that's fine. We can help them do that. But yes, we do get the clients that say, I want to blow this thing up and I want to exit the company in a few years. And we can help them
Mhm.
do that as well.
Speaking of, someone who wants to explode, one of your success stories was you mentioned Vital Stretch, so selling 50 to 60 locations. What did they do differently in their marketing or operations that allowed them to scale so fast compared to others?
Well, first off, it's in that health and wellness space, right? It's stretching, it's physical therapy, so they're in a great space, right? So like,
Mm, mhm,
so if someone's looking at that space, they're going to look at a variety of different models, and
mhm,
they're definitely in the health and wellness space. And first off, it's a great team. It's a husband and wife team. One was a chiropractor, one was a physical therapist, so they come from that strong background. And
mhm.
then they were able to do the correct marketing to find good, qualified candidates. And once you start having some really good candidates, oftentimes they want to expand. They want to buy more territories. So oftentimes you'll have a franchisee owning multiple territories, and that helps you expand more quickly as well.
So it's good to have those kind of candidates as well, who's not only thinking of like one locations, but have multiple in several places. So
Yeah,
yeah.
there are quite a few franchisors. They will only sell their franchise to someone that wants to own multiple locations. Happens a lot more in retail, from food to fitness and things of that nature. But larger territory service models, that it can happen there as well, where they're buying more than one territory.
Got it. Got it. Now, we talked a little bit about earlier about the vetting process. You've built a massive network of brokers and consultants. How does
Mhm.
that matchmaking process actually work behind the scenes to pair a potential buyer with a brand or like a
Yes.
potential franchisee to a franchisor?
Yeah, there's a variety of different marketing avenues that a franchisor can take to find good qualified candidates. Some is the online marketing that they are doing themselves, whether it be social media and pay-per-click marketing. There
Mhm.
might be certain types of expos and home shows and places like that that they can exhibit in. There's obviously franchise expos, and we have a sister company called the Great American Franchise Expo, which is included in their package. They get to exhibit in 10 franchise expos. But then, yes, the franchise consultants, matchmakers, coaches, some people call them brokers, they provide a great service. So they are independent people that all they do is market to find individuals looking to buy a great business. And after getting to know that individual really well, their
Mhm.
background, skill set, goals, and of course their budget, then they will match them up to several franchise opportunities that they think are a good fit for that person. They might represent 2 to 300 different franchise brands. So they'll narrow that down based on the characteristics of their candidate,
Mhm.
go through a profile of each one of those franchise models. And the ones that the franchise candidate is really interested in, they
Mhm.
will then send them over to that franchisor with the complete background of that candidate. So this person is financially qualified and has a really good understanding of what the franchise model is and what the estimated startup costs would be. So they're getting a very good qualified candidate, the franchisor is, when that's being sent over to them. And then if they end up awarding a franchise to them, it's always their choice. They
Mhm.
then would pay a commission or referral fee back to the consultant that found, vetted them, and brought them to them.
And so you have also that network of consultants, right, who help you find potential franchisees as well.
We do.
Apart,
We have a sister company called the Franchise Consulting Company, FCC for short. We have about 175 people across the United States, and that's all they do is go out, find people that want to buy a great franchise, match them up with clients. They average about 1,500 franchise sales a year for the clients that they represent. But there are several really good matchmaking groups as well. So our clients, once we have finished franchising them, first they go into FCC, our sister company, and
Mhm.
they kind of get their feet wet working with them, maybe make a few franchise sales. And when they feel that they're ready, they can expand out and can have multiple networks working with them and sending them leads. But you have to be ready for that growth. You get a lot of territory checks on a daily basis almost. And so you have to have a team ready for that. Being able to vet those franchisees, take them through your discovery process, and decide which ones you're going to award a franchise to.
There's a lot of decision making and consideration involved. Now, you mentioned the expo. How does that look like? Is it kind of like a yearly event, or how
So
is
yeah,
it
so
wide as well?
yeah, each year we usually do 12 expos scattered across the country from Denver all the way to New Jersey, New York. And in our package with our clients, they are exhibited in 10 franchise shows. So if they can be there, they get their own 10 by 10 booth to talk to people one on one that are coming to, investigate all of these franchise opportunities. But if they can't make it to some of the shows, my team is always there representing them and helping them vet and find good qualified candidates. And the ones that we find, we send those back to them free of charge. So they get exhibited in 10 expos, whether they can be at all of them or not.
Oh, that's amazing. That's like you've built this ecosystem as well for anyone who's just ready to jump to expansion. Now, with a new franchise opening every 20 minutes in the US, which is the statistics you shared with me,
Mhm.
where is the market saturated and where is the wide open blue ocean for 2026?
Well, it's interesting. So there are new areas. I mean, the health and wellness has exploded. Everything from, IV drips to, uh, you know, erectile dysfunction and testosterone replacement therapy. I mean, you name it, that is there, and that's been exploding. But going back to some of the industries that have been around for a long time, like senior care, that is just continues to grow. And what happens is the well-known brand names that people may be aware of, they get sold out in the market. So they are always looking for new emerging franchise brands to come in for the demand. I mean, you're talking about, the senior care industry is huge and it continues to grow. So it can take more new franchisors in that space, even though there may be dozens of them already doing it because they might be sold out in that territory. But yes, you're right. There are in the health and wellness space, as an example,
Mhm.
there are all sorts of unique brands and business models that have decided to franchise as well because they don't need to have. Here's another statistic. Most people, I get clients that are nervous for the responsibility. They think
Mhm.
everybody that franchises is going to have hundreds of franchisees. Less than 20% of franchisors ever sell 100 units. Now, sometimes that's on purpose. They don't want to be a large national franchisor. They want to be a small regional one.
Yeah.
But it's not as many as people think that become a very large national franchisor with hundreds of units.
Mhm. Not everyone has that kind of appetite. Any final words for
Okay.
our viewers?
When you sell your company someday, the multiple of a franchise system is much bigger than selling an independent business because private equity loves franchise systems. Why? Because they're not inheriting hundreds of employees. They're inheriting business owners running locations for them with the small little support team that the franchisors already put together. So they
Mhm.
love it. So where when you sell an independent business, you sell it for 4, 5, maybe 6 times your profit. In
Mhm.
franchise systems, it starts at 10 to 15 times. It's way different because private equity companies bid against each other to buy that franchise system. And they plan on putting a bunch of money into it, expanding it even further, and then selling it. There's franchisors that have sold 3 and 4 times in private equity.
So that's another like avenue to consider when it comes to scaling the business or maybe exiting.
Yes, when you're ready to sell the company, you can sell it for a lot more if it's a franchise system versus an independent company.
Oh, that's interesting. And is there a certain, factor to consider whether you're ready to exit, like number of, like length of years that you've already had or have you seen any businesses that, or have you helped any businesses that maybe just 1 or 2 years, or there has to be a proven track
Yeah,
system?
so I've known some that were scaling really quick. I mean, they were on fire selling franchises, and they had a good support team at the corporate office,
Mhm.
and private equity was coming and making them offers. And some of them were smart, and they said, "I'm not ready yet." In a couple of years after double their size, it's worth a lot more money then. So, but yeah, if they take off quickly, and it is a good business model, and it looks like it has a lot of potential for growth, they can get offers within the first couple of years from private equity. But usually they're a little older, and the profits are a little higher. But it's changed a lot. I mean, I remember 20 years ago, it was just a handful of private equity companies that bought franchise systems. And if they weren't doing 5 million in profit, they weren't even interested. Now there's all sorts of private equity companies, small ones, middle-sized ones, big ones, buying franchise systems. And they'll sometimes start if they're only doing 500,000 in profit. I mean, I'll get calls sometimes. Rick, any of the companies you franchised recently look like they have a really good shot at really expanding fast. If they're only doing $500,000 in profit, we're interested. Yeah, it's changed dramatically in the last 15 to 20 years.
Wow. And do you just do consultancy as well on the side? Let's say, for example, that business that you were talking about who was really scaling fast in the first 2 years,
Mhm.
and then someone made them an offer and they said, not yet.
We do a lot of that. Sometimes, and a lot of it's free of charge, but sometimes people want me to stay helping them on a regular basis so I can do a retainer with them and continue
Mhm.
helping them as long as they would like me to. So it just kind of depends what they want. I mean, I can be a guest speaker at their regional and annual conferences. Um, you know, I've personally sold over 500 franchises. My sales teams have sold 300 franchises. As I said, I've been a franchisor 5 times, a master franchise. So there's not much I haven't experienced. So I can cover a lot of ground based on what the audience is and kind of where the franchisor would like me to stick with.
That's amazing. Like you're jack of all trades when it
Yeah,
comes
I've
to
been
like,
41 years. I've seen it all. I mean, back when I started, there were really only 2 ways to learn about franchise opportunities. One was the classified ads in the newspaper, and then franchise expos. Franchise expos would draw 4 to 6 thousand attendees because that was the only way they could go talk to franchisors one on one.
you know, with your 4 decades of experience and knowledge in this industry, I'm sure a lot of people who would be watching this would want to get in touch with you and maybe get some advice from your team, how can they find you apart from like looking at franchisegenesis.com? How can they connect with
Right. Yeah. Well, my personal email is rickr@franchisegenesis.com. Yes, they can go to our website. They can fill out, info@franchisegenesis.com. But if they want to contact me directly, rickr@franchisegenesis.com. Free consultation. We'll talk to them about their business, find out if it is franchisable, and then we will do a feasibility study with them to look at what the model would be.
you?
None of that costs any money. And then if they decide to franchise, they'll sign up with us. And it's like we say, it is a franchise ecosystem, an entire package of turning their model into a franchise, getting them launched, and then marketing services that are included and training that goes along with this to find good qualified candidates to buy their franchise.
That's a wrap for us. Rick Robinson, the man who helps turn small businesses into national empires. If you are sitting on a business idea, maybe it's time to stop thinking local and start thinking national. Rick, you've been amazing. Thank you for being here. We'll also have Rick's contact links, as he mentioned, on the show notes. And if this conversation helped you think differently about your business, the best way to support the show is to do two things. Number one is share this episode with one colleague or a friend, and two, hit subscribe so you'll never miss the next episode. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you again for watching.
Thank you.